What's up, everyone? It's your boy, Johnny the 5'8". I'm bringing you an interesting video. Today, we're going to talk about, will there ever be another NBA Dynasty in the near future? There's many reasons on why I think not. There's many reasons of why it could potentially happen, but it could look very different than how it did back in the 90s, how it did back in the 80s, and so on. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some reasons probably why it may never happen again and why some of these superstars might only be one-time champions, two-time champions when they retire. The superstars in our generation. So let's get into that. Lots of superstar talent in the league and better role players. There are so many great superstar talent players in the NBA today. The amount of superstar talent in the NBA, the amount of great generational talent there is in the NBA is insane. There are so many great players, which makes competition so much harder. It makes getting to that finals so much harder. We have the most talent in this generation of NBA modern basketball than we did in the 90s and we did in the 80s. This league is stacked with talent today, and the role players have just gotten better. Like, the role players have gotten so much better to where now your 6th, 7th, 8th man can really change a whole playoff series for you. He can really be that difference maker. He could be that guy that wins your team the series. So that's the thing that really might stop dynasties from really happening much anymore is, stuff like that. Second apron rule. That's another thing that can really hurt potential dynasties because teams that spend a bunch of money, a certain amount of money, and get to that threshold are going to have to pay something called second apron, which is a certain tax, certain fee that teams will be given if they hit the second apron, which means they hit a certain amount of money, which makes it hard for them to sign championship pieces, championship role players, or just role players to a contending team if they are a contending team that could help them win a championship. It makes it hard to sign those people back. So players they already have, they could have trouble signing back. For instance, like KCP walked to the Orlando Magic from the Denver Nuggets basically because of the same reason. Denver didn't want to pay the second apron. Paul George is another reason. Paul George went to the Sixers from the Clippers. Paul George went from the Clippers to the Sixers. Had that backwards. He went from the Clippers to the Sixers because the Clippers didn't want to pay that second apron luxury for him. So he walked to the Sixers. So that's the type of stuff that can happen with that second apron rule. It can make it really hard to bring back championship pieces, to bring back those role players you need to win a title. That can make it a really difficult thing. And third is the value of role players. As I established, a role player in today's NBA, they are good. Role players are a lot better in our generation than they were in the 90s and 80s. Like a role player, a 6th, 7th man, a good starter on your team that's not a superstar, all-star level player, just a decent starter, can really change a series, can swing momentum in your team's favor, can win you a playoff series. So the value of role players definitely has an impact on it. Now, do I think there could be an NBA dynasty? I do think there could be an NBA dynasty. I think it is possible as well for there to be an NBA dynasty. I think an NBA dynasty would look very different in the modern era than it would in previous eras. Like, I don't think you're just going to have a superstar level player like a Michael Jordan who's just going to do everything out there every night pretty much, have the highest usage rates and, dominate like the NBA. I think it's going to be more of a team dynasty, team-oriented approach, and equalitarian, I think that's the word I'm using. I don't know if I'm saying the word correctly, but I think it's going to be more of a team basketball dynasty approach, like more like the Celtics have, where every player can do a bit of everything, and every player is a threat. Every player contributes to the team in their own way and helps out the team in their own way, and they can each do a little bit of scoring, a little bit of defense, and a little bit of passing. I think that's going to be the things that are going to define an NBA dynasty in the future. It's going to be things like depth. How deep is your roster? How many good 6th, 7th, 8th, 9, those type of players, 6th, 7th through 8th through the 9th type of player do you have? It's going to be those type of things that define an NBA dynasty, not necessarily who's your big three, who's your dynamic duo. It's going to be who's your 6th player, your 7th best player, your 8th best player, your 9th best player. Because the league has just got so good now. It's going to be things like that. And then it's also going to be how well does your team play basketball, defensively and offensively. How well do they play together as a team? It's going to be more team basketball oriented. It's not going to be one superstar just doing everything pretty much. It's not going to be two superstars just doing everything. It's going to be a very equalitarian approach to an NBA dynasty if there is going to be one in the future. So, yeah, that's my opinions on will there ever be an NBA dynasty in the near future. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Please do like. Thank y'all for watching, and peace.